Hey everybody, Jack Fanscan here, and welcome to this week's episode. So this week, we're doing something a little bit similar to what we did last week. We're going to pick out the second-year players that are most likely to break out this year. The first person I want to talk about is Christian Kirk. Last year, Kirk was one of the bright spots in the Cardinals' offense. He was a vertical threat that ended up being a viable flex starter. Not only did they add Murray, they also added Andy Isabella, who's a slot receiver who's going to take a lot of attention off of Kirk. And let's not forget about that absolute beast, David Johnson, who I think is going to be competing for the number one running back spot this year. And while we're on the subject, let's talk a little about Josh Rosen getting traded to the Dolphins. Rosen, also a second-year player, was traded from the Redbirds to the Dolphins in return for the pick that they ended up getting Andy Isabella for. Now, he didn't really show anything too special his rookie year, but he was still picked 10th overall. And you give someone who's as talented as he is motivation to do well, I could see Rosen breaking out. Now, they don't have a whole lot of offensive weapons in Miami, and that might kind of stunt his growth a little bit, but at the same time, we could still see him doing some good things. Really, all of the second-year quarterbacks that were picked last year in the first round have a lot of potential. They could pretty much all break out, but there's one person I want to talk about in particular, and it's not Baker Mayfield. Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills could be an absolute stud this year. He looked fantastic at the end of the regular season, and now that the Bills are starting to build around him, he's starting to get some fantasy relevance. They already had Shady McCoy, and then they went out and drafted another young running back in Devin Singletary, and the rushing attack is looking crazy good there, which, of course, will open up the passing game and allow Josh Allen to show off that crazy arm he's got. And let's not forget about his ability to run the ball, too. He ran for 631 yards and 8 touchdowns, which is a hell of a bonus for a quarterback, finishing 20th in points among quarterbacks. Now, that's not too crazy, right? But he missed 4 games. If you take his points per game and give him a full season, he finishes 15th, ahead of players like Mitchell Trubisky, Matt Stafford, and even, wait for this one, Baker Mayfield. And that's including the 2 games that Mayfield didn't play in. Josh Allen's stock is on the rise, and the more his team builds around him, the higher it's going to go. The next 2 players we're going to talk about are both running backs. The first one being Kerryon Johnson. The Lions running back was used pretty heavily last year. He did finish 33rd in fantasy points, but again, he only played 10 games. So let's do the same thing that we did for Josh Allen. Take the average points and give him a full season. He finished 33 before, and now with that added onto it, he's coming in at 16, ahead of Adrian Peterson. He averaged 10.7 points per game. That's fantastic numbers for an RB2 or even a flex guy. And that's pretty much what you're going to be drafting him as this year. And while we're on the topic of Adrian Peterson, Darius Geist is someone I want to talk about too. Now, Geist suffered an ACL injury at the beginning of last year, so he never actually got to see the field. But he was one of the most hyped up fantasy running backs and one of the most touted running backs in the draft last year, obviously aside from Saquon. So the motivation is there for Geist to bust onto the scene. And they got someone new throwing him the ball. Dwayne Haskins is coming in, and what do offenses that have rookie quarterbacks love to do? Run. AP and Geist are probably going to split a little bit of the carries. But as the season goes on, AP is going to get phased out because they're not going to really want him. They're going to want Geist to kind of take over the role because he's going to be their feature back in the future. Alright guys, well that's it for this week's video. Please remember to like, subscribe, comment, check out our Instagram page for articles and video updates that are posted every week. Thank you guys all for watching, and I'll see you next week.